What's up, everyone, and thank you for jumping in and joining us today on the Unconditional Podcast. I'm your host, Rabbi Michael Schoening, and our guest, the Chief Encourager, right here, Frank Sinclair with Dream Again. Thank you so much for jumping and joining us today, Frank.
And Mike, thank you for allowing me to be on, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. You're one of the first, if not the first, Unconditional Tribe members back in the day a couple of years ago. So I'm excited and honored to have you here. Of course, this is the Unconditional Podcast where we empower and encourage people to overcome unhealthy conditioning, to rest in their true identity, and to set healthy boundaries in life, to be unconditional. We do all this by sharing real and raw stories and expert secrets. Our first sponsor mentioned is Planet Duct, Southern Colorado's best air duct cleaning company. They clean my personal home's air ducts and dryer vent. You too?
Yep.
Yeah. And with someone with allergies and how dry it is in Colorado, we can't mess around here. They're also certified by the National Air Duct Cleaners Association. When it comes to family's lung health, your family's lung health, hire the best. Check them out today at planetduct.com. Frank, man, I'm just so excited you're here. I've been on stage with you only once so far, and I'm excited for the next time that gets to happen. But seeing you speak live, I've seen you speak live several times at networking groups and different things. It's hard because there are certain people who are talking, you listen to them, okay, that's cool. And then there's certain people that talk and you're like, I should be taking notes, like it's so you're one of those guys where when I hear you speak, it's like I need to be taking notes, and more than mental notes, because you drop little tiny nuggets of gold that I think a lot of people miss if they're not physically taking notes or recording you. So I've had to go back and listen to your stuff, especially the Unconditional Conference, May 19th. It's all on this YouTube channel. When you guys are looking at this on YouTube, you guys can actually see Frank speak for a good 20 minutes at the end on Synergy. And it is powerful. He wrapped up, Frank, you're right here. You wrapped up the entire conference in one 20-minute session. And so my first question to you for this episode is, tell us what project has been keeping you busy lately.
Oh my, still doing a lot of coaching. I have a lot of coaching clients. I'm really blessed to have those one-on-one interactions, but we're trying to push out our entrance into not only national, but international coaching and lifting up of people and human beings. So I'm partnering with an organization, Your Words Matter, out of Perth, Australia. I'm one of their key persons in America to help build that platform so people can get an opportunity to see how their words do truly matter on an international platform. So that's a lot of fun. Just joined Achieve as an Achieve member as well.
Okay,
and,
yeah.
Yep, a new leader in their organization as well. So we're doing a lot of stuff.
That's powerful. And I love that what you do really does exhort and lift up people. And I love that you're going beyond the community. I mean, our community, our home here, we're both here in Colorado Springs, is so important. I was meeting with a good friend of both of ours who is potentially going to be the next mayor of Colorado Springs, and he's got my vote. But I'll tell you, being able to work on a global platform, that is, I mean, how in the world did you even get an opportunity like this to work with people in the down under?
Well, it's odd, man. I tell you, social media does work to our benefit sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Right. You're very good and informed on social media, but I have a big social media platform. So on Instagram, someone from that organization began following me and reached out one day and asked if I would come on and do a talk on their platform. I did, and I won the speaker award on that cycle of speakers. And then the founder and I began having conversations about how we can really add value to one another from that platform, and decided to bring me on as a partner. Yes.
That's powerful. And I love how, a lot of people will maybe look at social media as a big scary monster, and there's a lot of weird stuff on social media. There's a lot of traps. There's a lot of
There's
time wasting.
humans. There's
Huh?
humans there. There are humans there, Michael.
I can't believe it. There's a lot of videos of cats too, but humans with humans, I remember that like in the middle of this whole pandemic thing, you made the choice to start a Facebook group. And we talked about it before, not on a podcast or anything, but the To Be Encouraged community. And you, I mean, I'm looking at this thing right now. I've got it pulled up on my phone.
Mhm.
Almost 51,000 members. It says 50.9 thousand members. Who does that?
Well, we actually did it before 2019. We
Oh,
created that
2019.
platform, March of 2019, because one day I just had a thought. I said, how could we infuse encouragement into humanity? And it was never intended to become a national or an international platform,
Yeah.
but it just exploded. And then COVID came, those coincided with each other, and people wanted ways of encouragement.
Yeah.
So it grew very, very quickly until now it engages over 125 countries, every state in the union, and we have over 120 admins around the country that monitor it 24/7.
That's amazing. Now, okay, so did you wake up one day and think, I'm going to have a global platform of encouragement? Like, what was this? A lot of people will say they had maybe a tipping point or an aha moment that takes them from one thing to another thing. Have you experienced that in your life with social media or speaking or authoring or anything you've done?
Not really. And that's a very good question, Michael. But uh, uh, tipping points are phenomenal. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a great book on with that name, as a matter of fact, that I think everyone should read. But I can't identify a real tipping point for me because I have a mindset that if I have an idea that's creative, that's good, I'm just going to do it. And we'll see what happens afterwards, right? If it sticks, it
Yeah.
sticks. If it doesn't, it doesn't, right? There's a what the heck, right? So, and
Is this
that's
like
really how I think about doing things. Let's just do it.
I'm gonna name this the noodle philosophy. If it sticks on the wall, it's done, right? If it doesn't stick,
Yeah.
it's not done, I guess. But no, I love that. So you're it's not as much the tipping point for you. What I'm hearing is it's more of a continual mindset for you that you are willing to do something and put it out there, even if it doesn't work so well like you thought, or
Yeah.
maybe blows up to almost 51,000 members in a group. And as someone who coaches and authors and speaks on stage myself, to have a platform of almost 51,000 people, and even though it's taken 3 years to build, you did it organically.
Well, the numbers aren't really true. There's something in Facebook that limits our number. Quite
Really?
frankly, if every person that we have accepted into that community was showing on our numbers, it would be well over 100,000
Are you
people.
serious?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We've been stuck on 50,000 for over a year, 50,000.9.
And it's been
Sometimes it even rolls backwards. So I don't know what the algorithms of Facebook is, but it's limiting our opportunity to show the true numbers of people that are engaged.
over 100,000 people, and
Yeah.
I love your product.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be encouraged. And
The Be Encouraged community. It's
yeah,
a lot of people on that platform don't even know that I'm a business person because you can't buy, sell, or promote anything. Only thing you can do in that community is encourage one another.
yeah.
And believe me, I've had all kinds of offers and opportunities to monetize the Be Encouraged community, but to stay pure to the vision that I believe God gave me for that community, we won't allow that to happen. It's
Mm,
always going to be a community of people that can't solicit or manipulate people.
yeah.
The only thing they can do is encourage another human.
That's powerful. I think that a lot of people, they get stuck in seeing an opportunity and think, how am I going to make money off this thing?
Mm-hmm.
And what you're doing is, and obviously, you and I both know as men of faith that often when we do something pure of heart and don't try to monetize off of it, the things that we do monetize become strengthened.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Listen, just the last week I was called um, by Ted Danson does a show on Bloomberg called Achievements.
okay,
And his producer called me last week, and I'm going to have a conversation on Monday with them about going on their show on television. So, that those are the things that come out of we think they're out of the blue, but they're just meant for you because when you build from a space of integrity and honesty and the true serving of other human beings exponentially, things come to you. You may call it givers get, however you want to phrase or frame it. That's what happens in humanity. So it's not even about me. And I know people say that all the time. It's disingenuous a lot of times because we're all insecure to some degree and we all want to be recognized to some degree.
yeah,
That's just humanity. It's nothing no bigger than that. Nobody has to apologize for that. But at the core of my heart, getting older has taught me that whenever Frank is in charge out in front of something and it's not about other people, inevitably it never goes where I think it should. But when I take my hand off of that and allow God to guide and strengthen my direction, it always ends up good.
wow,
Yes.
wow. I think I've experienced a lot of things in my life. I remember when I was first planning Unconditional the conference, and I mean, I was going to rent, as you know, I was going to rent this like ballpark with like get 15,000 people out there, 500 a ticket. It was like this, and I love it. And I started getting really, really full of anxiety. I'm like, I gotta sell all these seats now, and I'm talking to you, and we're sitting down, coffee or whatever, and I was like, what am I doing? And you said something that was really powerful to me. Um, you said, Michael, I love your 10-year vision for Unconditional, but this is your first year.
Mm.
That's you're skipping, And then after that, I was trying to get a space where we can cram, I think it was 700 people or no, it was 450 people, and I was still like, this doesn't feel right. And then we ended up doing it, and it wasn't nearly as big as I wanted it to be. But I go back and I listen to those videos, and I look at the pictures, and I talk to people who were there, and it was exactly what it was supposed to be.
Indeed.
And then now we have the podcast. Um, I'm excited because the next step is small classrooms for Unconditional that working on with Craig Tomanini, Craig T,
Yeah.
and his space there to do
T.
small Unconditional classroom type
Yeah.
setting, and then eventually conferences as well.
Yeah.
And this is a system, a platform, a brand, a philosophy of Unconditional that you have helped me from pretty much day one. And I think that if the purpose remains, and obviously I've got do a lot of trauma work. I've got over 60 certifications and licenses now, working with people going through trauma, especially foster kids who've gone through a lot of abuse. And I think that is an angle that I have that I'm now identifying is part of my identity. That I don't just, that nobody, someone said it's about I don't have competition. Nobody does what I do. How many messianic rabbis who are, trauma experienced, trauma licensed, that are coaching, writing, and speaking. So like I don't have to compete with anybody else because Unconditional is its own thing because I'm my own thing. And I love that we're able to bring and I've heard you speak about a lot of different things, but at Unconditional, all the speakers spoke from a little bit of a different angle, from more of that trauma recovery angle. And I think that's why we saw a lot of people cry.
Mm-hmm.
So, my next question to you is, we got a few more minutes here, is, Frank, when it comes to, oh my gosh, somebody's talking to me about a TV show. They want me to do this with Achieve and stuff in Australia. I mean, these are big moves.
Mhm.
What are some of the pushback or internal limitations or fears that you think a lot of people go through when they're presented with big opportunity?
No, I don't know. I don't know, because
Well, you're different, man.
when I was your age, I was not ready for these things. I wasn't. I was not. I was not at a space mentally. I was not at a space where my ego could be subdued enough where these type things would have. It would have just been. I had either been too afraid or didn't feel I was worthy of it, or I would have just blown up in some kind of self-centered, egotistical space. Right? Yeah, that's where I was. I'm not apologizing for it. It was just simply part of my growth. It took me a long time to shed Frank enough that I can step into any venture that comes my way now and nothing's too big for me. Right?
Yeah.
If it works, good. If it doesn't work, it doesn't crush me. Right? Etc. I really can. And I hope that doesn't sound like I'm bragging, because I'm not. Because what I went through to get here is definitely not brag worthy. Trust me.
But what I want to dig into a little bit is kind of how you got there. There's a lot of people watching and listening. I'm one of them. Who don't feel like they've really reached that point of being able to step into that. How do we get into that?
Well, a lot of it's just chipping away. First of all, it takes a lot of self grace, because and self awareness, and being just insanely honest with oneself and growing to that place. When I lost my first marriage because, quite frankly, I would have divorced me too. I was a horrible husband. I was not a good husband, and that ended my marriage. I almost lost my children because of the things that I did, my lack of character and etc. All those things just broke me to the point that I'm able to look honestly at myself today. Am I still flaw ridden? Yes, I have plenty of flaws, but I'm able to look at those honestly and go before him, the one that forgives and makes all things, and know that he can do that, so I can do that as well.
Yeah.
So these things that come, I know I can step into them with integrity. I know I can step into them in honesty and vulnerability and transparency. So what's bigger? I have big visions because I've been stripped away of big things that are limiting my ability to be the man that I was designed to be. So now I see my design and I'm ready to lean into it.
Man, I love that, Frank. Wow. And for the listeners and watchers, I really want them to really be able to internalize that. And I think we get stuck in what's funny is we got more self-help material out there than ever, I think, right now. But we have a lot of people really having a hard time internalizing that. I said from the pulpit a couple weekends ago, a couple Shabbats ago, I said, I'd hate to have to be some of your guys' neighbors. People are like, what? So, well, Leviticus says, and then repeated by the by the Savior, by Yeshua, is to love your neighbor as yourself. And I said, if I was some of your guys' neighbors and you love me the way that you love yourself, I would want to move. and somebody said this to me years ago, and it hit me so hard. Man, so
that is so quick, good.
We're out of time here, but I want to mention this. Tell us a minute about this.
Yeah, your personal business goals we just released. We're so proud of that. Matter of fact, your beautiful bride is one of the contributors in the book as well. Lisa Laverne and I continue our Chicken Soup for the Soul on a coaching level with the second book release, Your Personal Business Coach. And today, after this meeting, we start planning for Your Personal Health Coach, which is the next volume to be released early next year as well.
That's beautiful. I'm so excited for what you guys do. And I've been in a conference and I've sat next to the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. We went outside in Vegas and saw his star, and just a really, really cool guy. It spoke into my life and allowed me to speak into his life. And to be able to be in that space with authors has really, encouraged me, to finally publish my book, The Unwind. And my book showed up from Amazon at the front door. It was the same. I think it was the day before Maria's books showed up. And then, of course, I walked over and stole one of her books, stole one of your guys' books. She ordered 10 of them. I go, yoink, that's mine. She's like, you got to pay for that. I was like, I'll pay for that. Give me this book. And I'm so excited to be, for my wife and I both back to back to have this published work in the same couple days. I absolutely love it. And it's another one of those, like, I talked about writing a book for maybe a decade before I did it. I talked about a podcast for a year and a half before I did it. And I want that philosophy, Frank, I want that mindset of, just do it.
Yeah.
See if it sticks. I'm gonna call it the spaghetti noodle philosophy. So thank you so much. I've got a couple sponsors here to mention. Next is Unshakable, a program. It is the Elite Mastermind for Men by Peter Lynch. And it's more than a coaching program. It's a complete mind shift for men. You can see this at sleek.bio/Unshakable. Make sure you check that out. And then, of course, Garage Fitness with Gordon Brodecki, professional fitness coaching from anywhere in the world via the internet. You can go to his website at garagefitnessspa.com. He is going to have a 21-day challenge for men 35 and up. And this is more than a fitness challenge. It's a holistic challenge where he's going to go into the mind and heart of why we as men have kind of slipped from being men. It's not just about physical health. It's about holistic health. Check that out. GarageFitnessSpa.com. And for everybody who's watching, listening, thank you so much for your likes, for your follows, for your subscribes, all those things. It's hard to keep up with all those things, but all the things that you're doing and sharing and helping us promote the Unconditional philosophy by sharing the Unconditional podcast. Really appreciate you guys. And Frank, I feel like there's a million more things that we could be talking about. And I'm excited because I really would love to have you back on the podcast. You are, Unconditional tribe member, speaker, and I really would love to have you back again because I feel like you have a lot to give to the Unconditional community.
No, thank you. I appreciate all that you do, Michael. You're an incredible human being. Glad to be in your tribe, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much, Frank, and I'm going to accept that. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.